So the rain came and it was hard. It got harder and harder and harder.
I remember I was 13 and I was kind of skittish of weather anyway. I was standing on the back porch and I heard this sound, and it sounded like an 18-wheeler trying to get up a hill.
All I can tell you, we was getting ready to go to school, and you know, we didn't have no warning. We didn't have no warning, nothing. The wind just started blowing real hard.
It was like a train locomotive, but you got to multiply it by maybe 10 or 20 times.
I looked out the back door and I said, Margaret, that's my wife. I said, I ain't never heard these many trains running before.
And I said, oh my goodness, that's a long train. My grandmother all of a sudden had this look on her face, like, that's not the train.
The lights went to flashing off and on, and when my grandmother made this remark, she said, if it's a train, she said, God driving it.
And before I could say anything, boom, blackout.
During that time, the sky turned real red. Turned red.
And a black streak was behind and red was in front of it.
And it really frightened me because on the end of the end of it was nothing but just a red ball of fire.
And I imagine it was from hitting things, but it was like a dragon tail on fire, and it was just woof, woof. And then you could just see stuff in the air from the redness of that. Not so much from the sky because it was dark.
And that was one time when a lot of people really thought the world was coming to the end.
And all of a sudden, like the house was shaking. My mama said, "Yeah, children, y'all come on, let's get out this house."
So the fireplace came loose from the house. It was raining real bad, so we came out the fireplace. The fireplace just came all the way loose from it.
And my mama came and she jumped in the bed up on top of me and my cousin, and we went sailing through there.
My mother stayed up on the hill. My grandmother stayed down under the hills. That was her land. And when it happened, the only thing I remember, I was trying to run, and she grabbed me, and we got up on the shift road, and she was just steady praying, Lord, do your thing. Yes, Lord, you talking, do your thing. That's the only words that come out of her mouth. She said, do your thing, Lord. Yes, you speaking, Lord.
Destroyed all those houses over there on the 51 over there. Destroyed all those houses. All white people lived over there.
Because it hit the sunflower store at south side of Hazlehurst, and a bunch of houses that they had built down there. I think so many people lived in them or something.
I go to the front door, and I could see the tornado over by the mill. Looked like it was over by there. I could see stuff flying behind it, and I remember seeing the tail of it rotating like this.
Oh, Uncle Dan, Uncle Dan had a bunch of kids.
I think at that point it was about 16 or 18 in that house.
And the tornado, his house was right where the mill is now, but kind of like in the center. And I remember it was a pond out there. And the tornado blew the house down, and a whole bunch of the kids were blown in the pond. So the rescue units and everybody was there searching for the kids. And he had so many of them until they had to take them to all different hospitals, Macomb, every which way. So nobody half knew where the kids were.
They did have a lot of bruises. You know, one got their foot cut off, and all of them had some bad injuries.
But thank God all of them were saved.
My mom come in the room and woke us up and say, hey, get up. And I got up and she said, it's a storm coming.
When whatever it was just went on over. And so when we came from under the bed, I opened the front door and stuck my head out, even though we had like a screened-in porch. And then I heard somebody holler back and say, get back in there, don't open that door. A tornado has hit, help, these people need help. So then as it started to get a little light and I could see outside, when I looked up the street on top of the hill, it was like it was nothing up the hill.
Everybody was just scattered. My neighbors crossed the street, everything destroyed. It was just like a big pile of just rubble, like somebody had come through and bulldozed the whole hill.
You know, and I could hear my mama crying, and I could hear people in the background screaming and crying. And
I looked up toward y'all house, and I could see the damage up on that hill. But when I turned back around to look at the south end of the neighborhood, I could see nothing. It was dark up there.
Our house was still standing, but all around us looked like a lumber yard. Houses that once was there wasn't standing no longer. It just looked like splinters was everywhere.
The tornado hit the house, tore the house up. I figured through the floor. When I come to myself, I was laying on the ground.
She lost Billy. Billy was up on. We had walked all day looking for Billy. Yeah, we had walked for him all that morning looking for him, and so as we kept walking back and forth, well, we couldn't find him. And so all of a sudden, as they started moving stuff, they found him. He was still alive, but he died before they could even come get him out.
And it taken Miss Smith. She ran out of the house. And when she ran out of the house, the tornado carried her through the barbed wire fence and cut her head off. And took the front of the hot spot off. And that's where it lit up, there at the hot spot. And 6:30, the sun was shining everywhere, wasn't a cloud in the sky, like it hadn't anything came through. But for 10 minutes, that tornado came through, and it swiped out, cleaned up, like it came through, it was gone.
Yeah, Mom worked at the hospital, and that morning of the storm, she had to walk to work, and she said that she saw and heard all the destruction and the ambulance. And when she got to the hospital, they had people lined up in the bottom of the basement. It was so much cartridges, some dead, sheets over them, and you know, it was just chaos.
Everybody was just cramming into the hospital.
And I never seen so many people. They were muddy.
They were just all cut up and everything, and
they were dirty. You didn't know one from the other. You didn't know whether they were black or white.
And Dr. Freer was there that morning, and he tagged everybody that come in. He said, help me check what's wrong, and we're gonna ship them.
All we did was, they was trying to put name tags on the ones they could, but I went on downstairs and we had all the bathtubs, you know, working, trying to bathe them and put them on gowns and things.
And we tagged them, and he told them just where they were hurting and the pain and the breaks and everything. And he didn't do no kind of x-raying or anything. He just shipped them right on to Jackson.
Some was cut, they had the breast cut off. Some was about dead.
I remember the Gilmores.
Oh, it was terrible. The Perkins.
It was a bunch of the Gilmores.
I watched little Gilmores till I got tired.
You couldn't tell whether they were white or black or what color they were.
It was so many people, you know, when you don't have a lot of space, but we made room because they had people in the hall. They had them in every room that they could get somebody in, and they would take and make triages out of solarium, you know, and put, you know, they had them, you know, them section of things they put up there, and we just had to work to the best of our knowledge.
During the tornado that came through Hazlehurst, James Brown came and bought in his plane and bought clothes and brought them to the high school in Hazlehurst, to parish school. He brought that down personally.